Hello everyone, Jimithestache here once again, and today we are talking about Sony. I am joined with, of course,
the CountryFlyboy, one and only.
And on Skype,
TheWaterBoatman.
So today we're going to be talking about Sony's conference. It was interesting. I wouldn't say I'm a Sony fanboy. I am a Sony fanboy, but I'm not super biased like a lot of people are, because I do find things that like Microsoft are doing pretty interesting, and I mean I love Nintendo.
I'm pretty sure the only way you could be a bigger Sony fanboy is if it was blue, ran at the speed of sound, and was a pony at the same time.
Nice. Well, I have to say that I was really not impressed with Sony this year. Like, Sony has essentially won E3 for the, 3 years now?
Like the last few times. Like, I mean, they literally forced Microsoft to change the way that they did their Xbox One. So.
They changed rails really fast. I've never seen a 180 done that quickly.
Yeah, because I thought it was funny because Microsoft, like back that whole DRM thing with Microsoft and them, you know, saying we only want the games playable on our system, like on the system that you put them on, yada yada. You can't share them, and et cetera, et cetera. And they're like, it's impossible for us to do it now. We've already set it up to where that's the way it is. And then Sony was like, you know what? Screw you, Microsoft. We believe that you should be able to share games. And then Microsoft was like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna change everything now.
Yeah. Versus. Go ahead.
No, well, basically, if that was the case, it would have destroyed the used games market, and then people who couldn't afford, like your big title games, brand new, would be out of luck.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have destroyed it. It would have made it harder. They would have adapted, so they would have had like an extra fee in there. It's like, this is the here's your new license key fee.
Right.
So they would have adapted, but it would have hurt them, definitely. Mostly because we wouldn't have wanted to bother.
Right. Well, that's chasing a rabbit. That's neither here nor there. So, but we're talking about this year's E3. So they did have a strong start. I think they started off. They started off smart. They went right directly to a game that's been in development for 8 years now that everybody's wanted to see, and now we finally get to see like proper gameplay footage of it. And that is the last. 3? No, it's not. Half-Life 3 is not confirmed yet.
Half-Life 3 is probably not going to happen now because it's pretty much doomed to fail.
No, but that is The Last Guardian, which is from the makers of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, which are two very great, very artistic
They
games.
are widely regarded as probably the best games ever made.
And
I would say so. Very
they
stylish.
definitely pushed the limitations of the PlayStation 2 at the time.
Oh, yeah. Looking at it now, you're like, this ran on a PS2?
Yeah, exactly. And but yeah, Last Guardian looked interesting. I don't know how I feel about the bird creature. Like, I mean, it was kind of cute in a way, like the way it behaved, but it's like it kind of looked a little ugly to me. That's my own personal.
I can learn to like it.
Yeah, I think it would grow on me. Like, if I played the game, I think it would grow on me. I just didn't know how to feel about that. Like, it was kind of a weird mixture of things, but it's also like probably stems from some sort of Japanese roots, like some mythological roots or something.
I have to point out that I really like where they're going with it. I don't call myself CountryFlyboy for no reason. I actually do grow up and live in the country, so I've been around animals pretty much my whole life. And one thing that always bothered me with games is they never quite get animals right. They usually end up having meters or somewhere to tell you how the animal's feeling, Sims. But this one didn't do that. In fact, you have no way of knowing how the creature is feeling or what it's thinking other than looking at it and reading its body language and trying to determine, okay, he's hungry, he's scared, you know, what's going on. I really like that. And body language is not that hard to read, not with animals anyway, at least not to me.
Yeah.
Animals are usually pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But yeah, they started it off really strong. They showed the gameplay. They went right to gameplay. They had a very cute dynamic of like a little kid and like this pet, basically kind of a pet, but probably more a friend. Helping the kid along, and basically it seemed like they were going on some sort of an adventure, and like whenever danger would happen, the creature would do its best to save the kid from harm, and it was a very touching thing to watch. It was really cool.
Both the kid and the creature were very cute, and this is a Team Ico game we're talking about. So, any predictions on which one's gonna die first?
It's got to be the kid.
Yeah, because they killed Aggro in Shadow of the Colossus. Spoiler alert, but not really because he didn't die. They did technically kill Wander. It's gonna have to be the kid this time. We're gonna watch a child die.
Oh, boy. Oh no, let's not do that.
Well, it's either that or the creature, and then PETA will get angry.
That's true.
No one would care, but
but yeah,
PETA would get angry. They would pick it, and then we would be like, whatever.
eat a cheeseburger in their face.
Ding. That is correct.
Perfect.
That was perfectly timed.
Yep.
We didn't do that on purpose.
Moving on, as awesome as that was really good. Unfortunately, no release date. Well, was there a release
2016.
date?
It's 2016? Coming out. Yeah, they said 2016.
That's right. They did have a release date on that.
I just didn't write it down.
They did have a release date on that, which was good because it's been 8 years. They should have a release date by now.
Yes.
But moving on,
8 years of nothing.
This was the new game. One of their new IPs that they're working on. I believe it was created by Guerrilla Games.
Guerrilla Games, and I want to, before you read the title, I just want to say the premise of this game. At least what I gathered from the trailer, it was basically The Last of Us meets Monster Hunter meets Pixar's Brave.
Yeah. Actually, that's a pretty accurate description.
And it's the only other game from Sony that I saw this year, aside from maybe one other, that looked interesting enough. I would probably play.
It looked really cool, and I mean, it's a brand new IP, so that's really cool. I mean, it looked good. The idea was really cool. The game is called Horizon Zero Dawn, and it looks super cool. The basic premise is that they almost like depicted them as kind of like cave dwellers almost, and it was kind of like a reboot to the world. It was the basic idea, is that kind of like this apocalyptic thing happened in, I guess, kind of our timeline,
near future from us, because there were robots.
Yeah, near future from us, and then something apocalyptic happened, which kind of wiped out a lot of humans, and then it kind of set us back, and like nature kind of took over our cities and things like that, and so we kind of reverted back to almost like cave dweller status. And then the whole idea is these people don't really know the origins of what happened to cause this, but the cool thing is, like, it's not like, you'd think, oh, well, they're going to be fighting animals. But the interesting thing is they're fighting robot
dinosaurs.
Yeah, robot dinosaurs. So somewhere along the lines we created like robot dinosaurs or something.
Or maybe it's a super intelligent AI that created itself or something.
That's true. Like, it could be kind of like a Matrix scenario where like they create more of themselves.
She had an awesome weapon.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really cool idea. It looked fairly original. I mean, the whole post-apocalyptic thing isn't original, but like the idea of it, like, that's why I like The Last of Us so much, was that it was a post-apocalyptic game, but it was beautiful. I mean, there were so many colors. It was lush and beautiful. I mean,
it was the story.
Yeah, like a lot of times you see like Fallout, and those games are fun, but it's always dark and depressing and a lot of grays in the color palette and things like that. But like things where The Last of Us I thought were really cool is it was an exact opposite of that, like nature reclaiming the earth and it just looking beautiful.
I liked The Last of Us simply because the way it depicted its zombies, and they were zombies, don't say they weren't anything else. The way it depicted its zombie apocalypse is a way that could actually happen.
It's true. Yeah, it was a very realistic scenario.
A bit of a long shot, but it's possible.
Yeah.
They kind of took the whole parasite idea, which just happened actually in nature too.
Yeah, so it's a real life thing that happens to ants.
Right.
Cordyceps is the name of the thing.
Yeah.
What is it?
But what's in? Oh, go ahead.
It's cordyceps.
Cordyceps, yeah.
The interesting thing about those cordyceps, though, and this is probably like an adapted version or like a I don't know, hell, we could even call it a genetically mutated version of the cordyceps, is that they're only able to move at night because sunlight will kill them.
Right.
Which if you mutate and adapt enough to go from ants to humans with little in between, yeah, you probably would have some weaknesses.
Yeah.
We're a bit more complex than an ant.
Little bit.
But anyways, chasing another rabbit. Let's move back on to the next game on our list, which is Street Fighter V. It's a Street Fighter game. That's pretty much all you need to say.
Yeah,
that's pretty much.
Beta's July 23rd. Hadouken. I think that's a PS4 only beta, from what I heard.
Yeah.
There was a lot of exclusives this year for E3.
Yeah.
It was the year of the exclusives.
So that one's pretty much what it is. We all know what to expect from that kind of thing. The one that I was super stoked for last year when they first announced it, and I'm still stoked for this year, is a game by the name of No Man's Sky. This game looks truly, like the idea, just the concept of this game just sounds really cool, and I'm super hopeful. I'm really hopeful this doesn't let me down like a lot of games have done recently, but like the premise is just absolutely mind-blowing. The whole premise of this game is basically having an entire galaxies upon galaxies full of planets that people can explore.
Was it multiple galaxies or just one? I can't remember.
Oh no, there are multiple galaxies. There's so much to it, and the whole point is these are all procedurally generated planets, and everybody starts off on their own planet, and then they can travel around to other planets and discover new things and show those discoveries, and the whole point is exploration. And I mean, the world is supposed to be absolutely huge. I do not know how they're pulling this off, but the world is supposed to be like ginormous, to the point to where in our lifetimes, even from someone who is just being born in their lifetime, they would never be able to explore every single planet in the game, even if they dedicated their life to doing it every second of every moment.
I see one person who's named their ship Enterprise. I'm bolting. Because this seems like a better Star Trek game than any Star Trek game, because it really goes at the core of what the Federation and Starfleet claim to be about in Star Trek.
So, what are your thoughts on that, WaterBoatman?
I think that it's interesting that you start off on kind of a systematically generated planet. That's something that you don't see very often. It takes up a lot of memory to do that too. So I'd be interested to see how the hardware is going to hold up.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you look at games that do the quote unquote randomly generated structures like Minecraft, or hell, there are a couple other ones that can do it. I can't think of them right now, but
I don't think Hell does that.
They might.
I don't know.
Hell does it, definitely. I mean,
I don't plan on visiting.
Maybe your own personal hell. That's
yeah.
Your own personal hell. Because only you know that. But yeah, I mean, random generation is difficult to say the least to predict, but it can be done really, really well.
Oh, it can be done really, really well. I mean, even so much, not even worlds go, like, not even in regards to worlds, but just, like, Borderlands and their guns. Like, that's a really cool idea, like, procedurally generated guns, so no gun is the same, you get different guns as you go. I think that's cool. I think procedurally generated is kind of the future of video games.
Yeah, most likely.
Because it allows creators to not use every resource they have into making a game feel real down to the grass, when they can just program the game to make itself in a way. Like, well,
here's kind of the problem with that. You would have to have something that's just like an open sandbox style game with little to no story elements, because you can't have like a quest that says go here if here doesn't exist.
It's true. I'm interested to see how they pull it off. But the one thing that they did show is that you could end up like happening upon a space battle between two warring factions, and then you could join in and like fight against one of the factions, or you could just ignore it and keep on going. Like that, I don't know how they're incorporating that, but it looks interesting.
It doesn't really surprise me, because I know how the way bots and automated technology is these days. You can really just give it a few rule sets, and a computer program can write you an entire operating system in a night. Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me too much from the programming or technological standpoint. It seems like they're just taking advantage of the technology that it's not really well known that we have, because most people hadn't seen it yet, but it's there.
So next thing that they revealed, I don't even know what to say about this one. It's Media Molecule, and Media Molecule is amazing. They're very creative. I love Media Molecule. I have a blast with Little Big Planet, and Tearaway was a fantastic experience on the Vita. Like, if anybody ever has a Vita, which I don't know how many people actually have Vitas anymore, but if anybody has a Vita and has not played Tearaway, shame on you. Go out, buy it right now, because it is one of the best games for Vita, period. I mean, it manages to use every single feature that the Vita has without being a gimmick. It is beautiful. I love it. But that's not why we're here talking about this. There's a new game coming out, a game, quote-unquote, that they're calling it. I don't really know what it is.
It's Dreams.
It's called Dreams, and it's... The idea is you have your own dream, and you can, like, draw with the PlayStation controller, like, kind of clay model, like, things.
That's going to be awkward.
And then you can puppeteer them and make them move, and you can, like, create, like, scenes and videos and stuff. But it's all very, like, artistic looking and very, like, I don't know. I feel like it's going to have niche appeal, but I don't really see it. It's just weird. Even they said it's hard to explain. Just look, and you'll get more details later.
I want to point this out. If you were to describe Little Big Planet to me, I would say that I would not play that. I wouldn't play it. It doesn't sound interesting. If you were to show a video of Little Big Planet to me, I would say, give me that right now. Right. This is the game from them that is kind of both. If you describe this to me, its premise is interesting enough that I would say, hey, I would give this a try. And looking at the trailer, it was like, this looks like it could be something. I mean, depending on how awkward it is to draw with the controller, because they're using the gyro in the controller, they're actually moving the controller around.
Yeah, that looks weird.
That looked weird. We got 2 thumbsticks. Let's just use them. But, or better yet, give me a mouse. But,
I mean, the whole thing basically seemed like almost like a tech demo of sorts, or like just like an idea, a concept, like not fully fleshed out. It was weird.
The concept was recreate the feeling of lucid dreams, and you can share your dreams with others. I don't want to peer into the head of other people, to be honest. I don't even like what's in my head most of the time. So it's this will be interesting. We'll have to watch how this one plays out.
Yeah. So
I want to go right into this. I'll use this as a segue to go right into the third and only other game from Sony's conference that I found interesting, and it's another new one from them. Mostly because, again, lived in the wilderness and from the country. Park Ranger is always, or Park Ranger or Game Warden has always been an interesting sort of job, even though you spend most of your time weed eating, apparently. But, so they had a game called Firewatch, and it looked like you play it as a park ranger in a remote section of the wilderness somewhere.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much from the trailer other than 2 girls went camping and hadn't been seen in a few days, and they're in your sector somewhere.
It looked interesting because, like, the whole point of it is, like, the whole premise of the game is you're isolated, right? So you're cut off from the world. There's no one you talk to except for this woman. Like, you talk to this woman on the radio, and I think that's supposed to be it. Like, you're only supposed to have, like,
one human contact.
Right, one human contact. And so, like, that's kind of the whole idea of this game. And by looking at the trailer, it looked like there was some kind of story there. Like, some sort of overarching story. But it was kind of unclear as to what that is. But it did look like there was more going on. Like, it kind of showed, like, you know, you go through the days of a park ranger, but then it also seemed like there was more of a narrative going on behind the scenes that you probably find out later on.
A thing from Destiny. Does anyone want to talk about that? Because I don't think anyone here plays Destiny.
I play Destiny a little bit, but I don't have any of the expansions, and it lacked gravity, honestly, to me. Like, the mechanics are super fun. It's a super fun shooting game, but the story didn't really grab me in the way that I wanted it to. and so I don't really play it that often. But as a shooter, it's a very, very good shooter. I will say that. Any comments from you, Mr. Boatman? We haven't heard from you in a while.
I honestly haven't played. I honestly haven't played Destiny because I don't have it.
Right, I bought it day one because I was super excited. I played the beta and loved it.
He's a Bungie fanboy too.
Yeah, it's also true. But
Yeah.
I loved the beta, but the thing is, I don't think it really like got any more exciting than the beta, which is the problem. Like the beta was exciting, but then I didn't really see like it didn't. I don't know.
Change enough between the beta and the actual release.
Right. I mean, it kind of was just like the beta was a good snapshot of it, but then it didn't seem like it progressed as the story went on from like what the beta showed me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. The next section from Sony's press conference was simply I've entitled Developer Digital.
Well,
and
let's not skip the amazing announcement that a lot of people are like complete fanboying about right now, and that is the fact that after I don't even remember how many years. I don't remember when it first came out, but I mean, probably like, 15 years ago or more. After all of this time, finally, the people at Square and Tetsuya Nomura have finally announced that they are remaking Final Fantasy VII, a thing that people have wanted for years, and they're finally giving it to them.
they're hitting the emergency button, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm really excited for this because, as I've said, Final Fantasy VII is one of my favorites, and I mean it's a lot of people's favorites. It is one of those games that a lot of people will say it was a really, really good Final Fantasy game, and I'm really excited to see like what it looks like in next gen. Because I mean, it's not going to be like a fancy upscaled thing. It's going to be a full-on from scratch remake, and that's going to be exciting because just after looking at Final Fantasy 15. That looks amazing graphic-wise and everything else, like gameplay-wise. I'm super excited for that as well. So I can't wait to see how that translates into Final Fantasy VII.
I have to say I've never been a big Final Fantasy fan for reasons that we stated in the last episode is turn-based combat. But I did get into Final Fantasy 13, specifically Lightning Returns, and Lightning quickly became my favorite character in a while. And I know I'm a bit in the odd for saying that because she's not very popular with most people. I love her, but I'm weird, so
you can say that again.
Yeah, I did enjoy Lightning Returns, and it had solid gameplay. I think what let that one down a lot was because it was after the first two Final Fantasy 13s, which weren't that good.
No,
Lightning Returns was actually pretty good to me. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to it as a new fan to Final Fantasy. I can go back and play what is credited as probably the best Final Fantasy game ever made.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them. I mean, for sure.
And I know enough about the story of it to know that it is a pretty relevant story.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I love Final Fantasy VII.
That's the worst part about Final Fantasy, though, for me, is I haven't played a Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy VII.
Right, yeah.
Just because I didn't really fall in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you can't argue with the greatness of the story in Final Fantasy VII.
Right. So now, if you want to go on to what you were going to talk about next, I just didn't want to forget about that one because that's a pretty big deal to a lot of people.
Well, I was kind of skipping over it because I've put more into that during the Square Expo, but we want to go into the Developer Digital section, which is going to take like 5 seconds because 4 games from Developer Digital: Ronin, Ether, however you say that, Mother Russia Bleeds, and Crossing Souls. Ronin looks interesting because it looks like a side-scrolling stealth puzzler. I'm trying to think of that indie game that came out on PC, but I can't remember its name, where you hide from cameras and punch security guards in the face. But it reminds me a lot of that, which looks interesting. The other 3 are all side-scrolling slashers, if their trailers are to be believed, and they all look like reskinned versions of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that has an interesting name is Mother Russia Bleeds.
Mm.
Right.
So I think we can pretty much skip that one.
Yeah. The next one on the list is the crowd-funded Shenmue 3, which I don't know anything about that series. So
Me neither.
Nope.
Moving on.
Jackie Chan's in it. Apparently, that dude looks like Jackie Chan.
Yeah, but apparently it was very well received crowdfunding-wise, I think. Well, I think so, but I think there's still crowdfunding.
Can I introduce the next one?
Yes, go right ahead.
Batman Arkham Knight. And we have a note sheet that I made for all of us here in front of us. And the only note, because the trailer they showed was about 5 minutes long, and it was first-person view of a cop getting his lunch on the night shift at a diner. And the only thing I could figure from this trailer is Scarecrow is a villain in it. That's
Scarecrow is a villain, yep. It's right here. Scarecrow is a villain. That's all we have. Scarecrow is a villain.
Well, there wasn't. It's a Batman game.
It's true.
Batman Arkham game. Batman. What do you want from me? Because that's all they showed was Scarecrow. They didn't even show Scarecrow. It just showed what Scarecrow does to people.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. The problem is I haven't really played any of the Arkham games. I have them all, actually. In fact, I actually got this one because I just got a new graphics card. So that'll, more on that later. But by getting that graphics card, I actually got Arkham Knight. So I'll get into it. I'll start with Asylum and work my way up. And
Where is he?
Very nice.
I'm Batman. The thing with the Batman games is I am a DC fan. I like DC more than Marvel, but Batman is so overrated. I like the more obscure DC characters. Like Hawkgirl's my favorite. I like Zatanna, Green Arrow. They need their own games. Zatanna would have an awesome game. Martian Manhunter.
All right, so next on the list, Call of Duty Black Ops 3.
It's a rehash.
Yeah, it's gonna probably be more of the same.
It looked like more of the same. They went through the same stuff they do every year. We're raising the bar. It's gonna be awesome, and it looks. The only thing I can say about it is at least it's not Battlefield. Angry. They're gonna rip my mailbox down again, but yeah, Battlefield just doesn't do single player as good anymore, but more on that later. That's another rabbit we're not going to chase.
Yeah.
We have Star Wars Battlefront. Do you want to save that for EA? Because they talked about
that.
that
Was more for them. Let's give them a little bit more coverage. I was okay with saying Final Fantasy VII just because that is an exclusive to PlayStation and it always has been. So that's why I wanted to talk about that in the PlayStation, but we can leave that one for EA. But the last one, I think they ended on a good note too. I feel like CountryFlyboy mentioned that they could have ended with The Last Guardian. I feel like they probably could have flip-flopped these two, and it still would have been good. But they ended with, of course, Uncharted 4. A Thief's End, I do believe, is the subtitle.
Which was so funny to watch on that press conference.
Oh, yeah, they totally messed up. Apparently, there was a controller connection issue or something. So whenever it started up, it went to a cutscene, and then when the game started, like Sully was running away, like "Come on, Nate!" and then Nate was just standing there, like watching him
for like 3 minutes. He stood there, and everyone's just sort of scratching their head, and then it fades out and fades right back to the cutscene you just watched, and then they started playing a movie. They panicked and they said, "Put the movie on."
Yeah, so they restarted it. And everything went, but I mean, it looked amazing. I'm a huge fan of the Uncharted series. It is one of my favorite franchises. I have a lot of favorite franchises, but it's definitely one of my favorites. I mean, it's pretty much Indiana Jones the game, is what it is, and I love Indiana Jones.
I felt for that Jeep though. That Jeep took a beating.
Oh man! But the cool thing that I noticed being an Uncharted fan, the cool thing I noticed was upgraded from 1, 2, and 3. Was with more processing power came that like obstacles actually fall apart and deteriorate, which I thought was cool. Like, in old games you take cover and bullets fly at you and they just hit the wall and stop. But in this game it seemed like everything could fall apart while it was being shot. So you'd be behind a crate and the crate would fall apart. And so like everything was destroyable. I loved that idea. And, it was very cinematic, and it looked even more like you were playing a movie, which was really cool.
Yeah. That pretty much does it for Sony. You got anything to add, Boatman, to Uncharted before we close this out? Because we're getting into the long territory.
I just want to go on record to saying that I love the Uncharted series, but I don't know if I'm going to play this game. I haven't really been... Like, I played it when Uncharted 3 first came out. Sorry, brain fart. When Uncharted 3 first came out, I played it. I played the heck out of it, and I kind of got to the point where I was burnt out on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I played and played and played and played and played, and then now I'm just like, well, I like the Uncharted series, but I don't know if I want something that could be just kind of the end of something.
Right.
It's like watching it's like binge watching an old TV show. You know the end is coming, and you don't want to finish it.
That's true.
You don't want it to have an ending.
You don't want it to have an ending.
Star Trek Deep Space Nine did that for me.
But anyways, in closing, what did everybody think of the Sony conference?
Well, they definitely lost out this year. It was, what did I have to say? I wasn't too impressed with them this year, mostly because their biggest news was The Last Guardian and those two new IPs that look good, Firewatch and Horizon Zero Dawn. They didn't really have anything else to go on. Maybe the VR thing, which we'll talk about later, but we saw during the Microsoft press conference, they basically got blown out the water as far as VR is concerned. Because Microsoft really blew everyone away this year with that. But
well, that's the thing, though. Like, Sony didn't even really... They just talked about it. They didn't show anything. They're like, this is Project Morpheus! All right, tune in later. We'll talk about it more.
And we'll talk about it more on here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I have to say Sony, they steered the boat in circles this year.
Well, Boatman, what do you think?
I think that they're really not advancing anything. They're not really... They're playing it safe this year. It's not like they're going too far out of bounds for what's expected from Sony. Not to say that's a bad thing, but I mean, you're not firing shots, and you're not trying to take out the competition just by sitting doing basically nothing.
Right. Yeah. My thoughts on the matter were they had a lot of good ideas. They had a lot of good games. Like, a lot of people are saying that they really catered to the fans this year by finally releasing finally announcing The Last Guardian to be coming out, and actually announcing that there was going to be a Final Fantasy VII remake. So a lot of people have said that. I think the biggest problem that I've also heard is that there are really no exclusives coming out for PlayStation this year. Like, that's, I think, their biggest problem is most of the games that are coming out in the future, not in the near future, which I think could be a problem, because I'm pretty sure that Xbox has a lot of exclusives coming their way this year.
Yeah, a lot of stuff's coming out in November. That seems to be a trend from this note sheet. I see a lot of November.
Oh yeah, November is always a big hot time for video games.
It's hot this year, definitely.
It always is. November is one of those big ones because it's right before the holidays. They want to get you in right there. So November is always one of those key months in video games.
Of course it is.
But yeah, that being said, I think we've jabbered enough on the subject of Sony. It's been fun, guys. We'll see you again in the next installment, which is going to be Microsoft, I guess.
Yep.
You guys have a wonderful day. Anything that you guys would like to say in closing?
Nope. I'm a little hungry, but no, other than that,
I like turtles.
I like turtles.
Well, you all have a wonderful day.
I like lightning.
We all have a wonderful day, and we'll talk at you next time. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.